Ivan, just after the Second World War in 1944, the IMF and the World Bank were formed in order to have a global program that would ensure global economic stability, as well as there were sufficient funds to reconstruct the war-ravaged economies after the war. Just a few days ago, the IMF and the World Bank both acknowledged that immediately after the COVID-19 debacle and the pandemic, that the world economy would take such a beating that it would be worse than the global financial crisis of 2008 and 2009, as well as the Great Depression of 1929. So they'll have to do something about it. All these institutions will have to now step forward and be counted in the revitalization of the global economies. In fact, they'll have to put their money where their mouth is. So I'm suggesting that they do certain things, and in order to set the stage for that process, let us see what should be done immediately after a massive economic downturn. A, there must be a timeout where those economies that have taken a beating, a shattering, will have time to think as well as to reflect as to how they should go forward. There will be many companies as well as businesses as well as institutions that would take a serious beating, which will need to rethink and regroup. At the same time, immediately thereafter, there would have to be a massive stimulus in order to go forward once again. Just after the global financial crisis, the US set apart an amount of $700 billion for troubled assets relief program in order to ensure that those companies that were in difficulty could be resurrected and revived. And in fact, some companies were bailed out by having equity purchased by the Federal Reserve Bank. In another way, during the Asian financial crisis, Malaysia did what was known as the Dana Harta, which made sure that those companies were also safeguarded and brought forward. Even in Sri Lanka, at the time of the global crisis, when one of our banks as well as the financial companies were facing difficulty, we created what is known as a liquidity support scheme. And today, I know that it is around 60 billion rupees that is there in the liquidity support fund. So what should we do? If the IMF and the World Bank is to provide some stimulus, I'm suggesting that during the period 2020 and 2021, they completely write off all the repayments of interest as well as capital from all countries to which they have given loans. So it's a kind of a seed capital that you create within those countries, which they can use in order to redevelop and revive their own countries and their institutions. So what I would suggest is that the money that is saved by those countries is used to A, set up a revival of businesses fund, and B, to set up what is known as a vulnerable persons relief fund. So that both these are covered in the process so that there can be an upheaval once again. Each beneficiary must use these funds to set up those funds that I mentioned, and that would serve as a global stimulus which will trickle down to all the nationals as well. A stable, global, orderly financial system is good for all nations, not just only for the advanced nations. So we should ensure that a global solution is found first in order to bring countries to an even keel. I believe an initiative of this nature would be easy to implement. It would not be an unbearable burden on the World Bank and the IMF. It would provide immediate relief. There's no red tape, there's no technical assistance needed, there's no delay. It will immediately restore business confidence so that the markets will once again have an ability to move forward. It will maintain the global supply chain, and it will stabilize all economies as well as the markets, be it commodities, debt, money markets or equities. So I think the results will be quick, and we will talk about more solutions from a national point of view in the next few days.